church, nothing would be able to come against it. The religious leaders were afraid Jesus would begin an uprising against the Roman government, so they beat and crucified him. But 3 days later, Jesus conquered death and rose from the dead, fulfilling ancient prophecies about the Messiah. Before he ascended back into heaven, Jesus charged his 12 disciples with this: "Tell the world the good news about me." 7 weeks after Jesus left, 120 disciples were meeting in Jerusalem when the unexpected happened. The Holy Spirit came and fell upon everyone there, and Peter preached his first sermon and gave proof through the scriptures that Jesus was the Savior that God had promised them. 3,000 received Christ that day, and the church began. In 33 AD, a religious leader named Saul was traveling on the road to Damascus in order to persecute and kill Christians, but Jesus appeared to him and changed his heart, giving his life a new purpose. Saul became Paul. In 44 AD, he began his first missionary journey out of Antioch, traveling to Galatia, Philippi, Thessalonica, Corinth, and Ephesus, starting churches and telling people about Jesus. The book of Acts ends after 28 chapters, but the work that Paul began continued on even after his death. As the message of Jesus advanced, the church continued to grow. Over the next 400 years, the gospel spread to parts of Europe and northern Africa. By 900 AD, Christian missionaries had reached parts of England, China, Italy, the Netherlands, Germany, and Norway. In 1382, John Wycliffe translated the scriptures from Latin into English, so it wasn't just the religious leaders who could read and interpret the Bible, but the entire country of England. Johannes Gutenberg began printing the Bible in 1462 using his printing press, making the scriptures more widely available to the public. And in 1517, Martin Luther published his 95 Theses, which said you couldn't buy your forgiveness, but that salvation was through faith in God alone. This enraged the Catholic Church and began the Protestant Reformation. In 1620, a small number of Puritans fleeing Protestant persecution in England landed in Plymouth, Massachusetts. There, the Pilgrim Fathers found religious freedom and true separation from the Catholic Church. The Great Awakening began to sweep the colonies in the 1730s as George Whitefield and Jonathan Edwards started preaching the gospel all over New England. It caused people to take Christianity seriously as a personal experience and not just a worn-out tradition. People became passionate, and the church grew.
Hey everybody, this is John coming to you from downtown Chicago. I'm always inspired by great men and women of the faith who have really stuck their necks out there to pioneer reaching people far from God. Behind me is the Moody Church, a historic church building that was built in 1925. And so many greats of the faith have passed through these doors at the Moody Church. People like William Borden, who at age 7 received his calling into ministry while at a Moody Church service. Billy Sunday, an old school revivalist preacher, preached here. And of course, the great Dr. Billy Graham has spoken here at the Moody Church. The namesake of this building was a guy named D.L. Moody. And back in 1858, when he was 21, 22 years old, D.L. Moody was a traveling shoe salesman. I know, that's exactly what you want to grow up to be. But back in the 1850s, that was kind of a big deal. Anyhow, his heart was broken because D.L. Moody saw on the streets of Chicago orphans, young men, young women who had nowhere to call home and who were not allowed into church buildings. So on Sunday nights, they rented a space and started just teaching the gospel to about 300 orphans. It was the forerunner of what we call now Sunday school. Within 2 years, D.L. Moody's Bible study blew up to 1,000 men, women, and children. It caught the attention of the White House, and in 1860, President Abraham Lincoln came to Chicago to attend one of D.L. Moody's Bible studies. So very quickly, the Bible study grew into becoming a full-fledged church. D.L. Moody was the pastor for about 6 years, then he went on to do more evangelistic crusades throughout the world. And he had no idea when he died in 1899 that the legacy, that pioneering spirit of doing whatever it takes to reach people far from God, would continue to ripple into the 20th and 21st century. This building, the Moody Church, was actually, the land was bought in 1915. The building was built in 1925, and so for almost 100 years, men, women, and children have continued to grow in the faith, to hear the gospel, to learn the good news of Jesus Christ, all because a 22-year-old traveling salesman heeded the calling of God on his life, risked it all to reach the lost at any cost.
Man, I love the story of the early church in the book of Acts. The way that the earliest Christ followers were all about being together, radical unity. Like verses like Acts 4, verse 32, where it says that all the believers were united, heart and soul. Selfishness was not part of their community because they shared everything they had in common. And what they were sharing was not just like, their belongings or their finances. They were sharing their lives, their hearts. They were doing life together with no fear of rejection. And when I look at today's world, man, there's so much broken. Like, you turn on the news and there's always an angry person yelling at you, or you go on social media and there's an angry grandpa yelling at you. There's this person versus that person, this tribe versus that tribe. What would it look like to rediscover the ethos of the earliest Christ followers? What if we were that community built on trust, built on love for one another, who always believed the best about each other? What would that look like in our generation, in our region? Well, one of my favorite places to visit here in our region is right here, Dow Diamond in downtown Midland, home of the Great Lake Loons. And man, there is nothing more fun than going out to baseball, bringing the kids or your buddies, smashing down hot dogs and soft drinks, hearing the thwack of the baseball bat. There's something romantic and fun about people coming together. Baseball brings people together, and then at the end there's some fireworks and we all leave. But I think, what if the local church became the destination for bringing people together? Baseball is about bringing together all the players. It starts right here in the dugout. The coach calls the plays, the pitcher tosses the ball. Everybody has a part to play. It's about the team coming together to make something happen. Full confession, I never played baseball growing up. I didn't even go to a baseball game, but I did play t-ball. And it scarred me for life. True story. I think I was in first grade, second grade. My parents signed me up for the local t-ball. You know what t-ball is, when they put the ball on the post and you swing. It should be pretty simple, right? I did not want to play t-ball. I was afraid I was going to screw up and mess up the game, and everybody would hate me. So, wouldn't you believe that actually happened? My final t-ball game in my storied career, we were sitting there in the dugout, and the coach, I remember his name, Coach Googe. He looked like Jabba the Hutt, Coach Googe, and he didn't really say much, but he was always chomping on something. I think it was bubble gum, but it could have been tobacco. I really don't know. It was the 80s. But I remember sitting in the dugout with my buddies, and it was hot, and we've been playing for a long time against this other team, and I really just wanted to go home. And Coach Googe handed out the sticks of gum, and it was like the big league chew. So it wasn't really sticks. It was like you stick your hand in the bag, and you get like a bunch of big league chew, and then we knew we were men. And he said, "Aaron, you're up." And so right away, I get the butterflies in the stomach. My heart drops because I have to batter up. And so I run out there, and the opposing team's out there, and I get my bat. And again, they're not pitching the ball, people. The flipping ball is right there on a pogo stick. All I got to do is swing, hit the ball, and run. I swing, and I hit the stick. Strike one. I'm like, I'm going to chew faster. I swing a second time. I hit the tee again. Strike two. And son of a gun, because God has a sense of humor. Boom. Strike three. The game is over. I lost the T-ball game for our team. And so now, 40 years later, I'm not a fan of baseball. But I am a fan of teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. And that's the beauty. When you come to Dow Diamond and see the Great Lakes Loons in action, there's no turf wars. There's no, I don't feel like playing tonight. I'm going to stay home. Man, they are there early. They are on fire. Every game matters. They're fighting for every catched ball. They're trying to steal bases. They've got an urgency and a passion, just like in Acts chapter 4. The early Christ followers were nothing casual. They were fearless. They were on fire. They were in it to win it. You see, in baseball, you not only have the players who are running the bases, trying to get the highest score, moving the ball, but there's another crowd, the fans. It is great to get some hot dogs, bring the kids, enjoy the game, but there's a huge difference between being on the field as part of the team, making things happen, and just being a casual observer, drinking beer and getting ketchup from the hot dogs all over you. Anybody can come into the bleachers and talk a good game. But the glory is found when you get out on the field, when you join the team, when you make the ball move. You get the score to go up. You're part of something bigger than yourself. And that is the alluring factor of the Acts 4 community. You got guys, ladies, students, kids from all different backgrounds who are united as one, heart and soul. They hold everything in common together. They do life together with one passion, one purpose, making heaven crowded. That's how they know if they're making progress in the game of life. And if I could just sit in Acts chapter 4 every Sunday for the next 12 months, I don't think I would be able to mine the depths and the riches of the earliest community of faith. The first church of Jerusalem, all the believers were united, heart and soul. Selfishness was not a part of their community, for they shared everything they had with one another. Can you imagine walking into a church facility or logging into Life Church online on a Sunday, and there's this palpable weight of God's glory? This past week was the 1-year anniversary mark of the death of George Floyd. There's so much happening in our world, in our country, that divides us, that causes pain and hurt. I want Acts 4:32 in my life. One of the byproducts of this was that there was great grace upon that early church. There was no selfishness because they were filled with God's love. One of my favorite Christian thinkers and authors, G.K. Chesterton, once wrote these words, that Jesus promised his disciples three things. They would be completely fearless, absurdly happy, and in constant trouble. When was the last time that your faith was pressing you to take bigger leaps? Because playing it safe is too risky. This is where all the action is, out on the field. This is where just casual fans sit. And there comes a point, there comes a time where you and I have to make a decision. Will I be on the team doing whatever it takes to reach a generation? Or am I just okay and content with just gorging on hot dogs and missing out on stories of glory? In other words, am I a fan of Christ or am I a follower of Christ? And man, my heart is for you to take that next step forward in your faith, to move from being a fan to being a follower, to move from being an observer in the crowd to getting some skin in the game. That's why we are calling this message #NotAFan. In fact, hop on your Facebook or Twitter really quick, check into Life Church, and type in that hashtag #NotAFan. We can't halfway follow Jesus. There is no glory in the bleachers. Here's what gripped my heart this past week. A brand new study came out from Arizona Christian University about the millennial generation. It's like college age, high school age. It said that 43% of millennials either don't know, don't care, or don't believe that God exists. 43% of millennials. Then on Wednesday, brand new stats came out from our friends at Lifeway Research. They looked at the state of the American church in 2019, before COVID. And in 2019, in America, 3,500 new churches were started to reach people far from God. That's great, 3,500 new churches, right? But 4,000 churches in America closed their doors permanently. Yeah, that means we are actually closing churches faster in a generation that either doesn't believe, doesn't know, doesn't care that God exists. Is it any wonder that things are bonkers in our world today? But that's the exact type of culture where the first church took root. And with no building, no financing, no power, no platform, this small group of believers were radically united. They had each other's backs, and they were happy to sacrifice whatever they had, their time, their talents, their treasures, to help run up the scoreboard. It's hard to do that if you're a fan sitting in the bleachers. It's a lot more fun to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and take a swing at the bat. You know, we opened our time together in front of the Moody Church in downtown Chicago, founded by the late evangelist D.L. Moody. D.L. Moody is credited with these words that should be like Red Bull in your veins. D.L. Moody said, "The world has yet to see what God will do with and for and through and by the man who is fully and wholly consecrated to him." What if we stepped out in fearless faith with our time, our talents, and our treasures. We can't halfway follow Jesus when the stakes are so high. We have more children to reach, more teens to impact, more college students to give passion to, more relationships to bring healing to. We want to bring life to the Great Lakes Bay region. And together we win. I want to challenge you to take that next step out of the bleachers into the dugout. God doesn't lead us into less. You don't have to completely understand to fully obey. Listen, there's lots of stuff in the Bible that God talks about and that Jesus unpacks that even with a master's degree from seminary, I don't fully get it. But listen, look at me. You don't have to fully understand to completely obey. If we'll put what we have into the hands of Jesus, he doesn't just add to it, he multiplies it.
As we come to a close, now is your opportunity to partner with what God is doing here at Life Church. Now, those of you who are here and are guests for the first time, please leave your wallet in your pocket. We are not after your money, but we would still love for you to go to connecttolifechurch.com and fill out that connection card. Those of you who are wanting to financially support what God is doing here, you can do so in many ways. You can do it on Venmo, you can do it at lifechurchgive.com, or for those of you who are on site, we have baskets that are available that you can drop your offering and your tithes as you walk out the door. We really appreciate you supporting what's going on here and allowing us to seize the moment just like Peter and continue to share Jesus with those that God